Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Let me put this
Hi
on.
guys, how are you doing
Hi,
today?
how's it going?
Going
Okay.
great.
Okay. The first podcast I've been on, I can drink my coffee.
Yeah, I am so excited. Let's see how it's
Yes,
doing on YouTube.
yes. Okay, guys, welcome to God Conversations. While we're trying to get ourselves set up on YouTube, as you know, here on God Conversations, we bring you talks that help you deepen your walk with God one conversation at a time. Today, we are continuing on the My God Story series episode, right? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. We will continue on the My God series conversation, and we are joined by our wonderful friend, sister, the strong woman, because we're talking about something prior to us joining. Mrs. Hold on, Mrs.
Doctor. Doctor.
Doctor Nife Robert. It sounds
Thank
very cliche, very beautiful.
you.
No, it's
Wow.
not cliche. The word is not cliche, but it sounds very I will not bite my mouth today. Nisha, it's good to have you here with us. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank
How
you
are you
so much.
doing?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's funny. I've seen the start of this for so long, and it's great to be a guest. So I'm very.
How long have we been trying to do this?
I
Even
know,
before you
right?
leave.
I know, right?
Even
Well,
before you
thank
left.
God. Yes.
So I'm gonna I keep going out of camera.
Sit down. Straight.
Yeah. All right.
Please.
So welcome, as she said, and this can see my excitement. If you touch me, my body is hot. Like
Wow.
I'm so excited I'm excited with excitement.
I need to stop smiling small.
See,
Just stop smiling, oh, smile.
serious.
Uh-uh.
This is
Smile,
serious.
oh. You don't know where the smile is going to what's going to come from that smile. Let me
Ooh,
see.
that's a good
Somebody was
point.
discovered on a
That
podcast.
podcast,
Smile.
but we didn't even have
Let
video.
us smile, please.
This is smile, oh. You better smile.
Fair enough, actually. Fair enough. So,
Yeah.
So today, huh, Doctor, she goes by so many names with me.
I know.
Nifemi, baby, babe, little sis,
That's
advisor, prayer partner,
wow.
gist, gist partner.
We've been through it. We've been through it. But baby sis is
Maybe
still
sis is still my
yes,
favorite,
yes,
right?
yes,
And
yes.
I think for both of you, some people should see my chat is history. For
Yeah,
both of you, they'll be like,
yeah. And we're both October babies, so I think it really
yeah,
helps
so
as
me
well.
and she's December.
I
Yes.
am December.
Meg is
Oh,
December.
really? That's my sister's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So,
fall babies are the best. That's it. Period.
Okay, I
Fall
just
babies are the
wanted to
best.
start a war now. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah, yeah. No, fall
know
babies.
what my is.
okay, October, November, December, 4 babies.
I
Yes, we are all four babies.
exactly.
It's fine. We don't try. We don't even have to try, right? We don't even have to try. So guys, come on in. Come on in. This is going to be a loud one. A
Amen.
loud. Simply because this is I know she doesn't like spotlight on her. This girl, we have baby shower for this baby bridal shower for this girl. This girl wanted to beat all of us. Listen, that's how she does not like. Oh my god,
Yes,
she
yes,
does not.
yes. It
She
was a
does.
whole fight. It was a whole fight
It
with my
was a
best
big
friend and
fight.
everything. Because I'm like, first of all,
I felt sorry for Fumi that day because
I
I knew I
know.
was going to my house. Right? I knew I was going to my house, so she couldn't get me. If you want to flog me, she'll flog me over the phone. But the people that were going to be there after, I felt sorry for them.
I don't know, but it was a great day.
But
It was a
she
great
walked in and just started to cry.
Oh.
I told you, I
day.
didn't want this. I told she's dancing, she's dancing, but all this dancing with handkerchief. I told you, I didn't want this. I said, just dance. Just dance. Just dancing. Just dancing.
Thank God. It was
So,
beautiful.
listen, Nifemi is a one very dear to me.
Mhm.
She's my children's aunties. She's
Hmm.
my children's disciplinarian. When I need someone to speak to their head so that their head will come correct, she's the one I want to. And she has done so much for me in my life.
Mhm.
Um, she has seen my ups. She has been in my down. She's been there.
Baby, don't let me cry. I was just that crying. So please
So
stop.
and sometimes all she does is auntie.
Oh.
See that auntie, it has is loaded.
Mm.
It is loaded. There's chastisement in it, there's love inside it, there's the advice inside it, so it comes in shades. There's auntie, there's
Like.
auntie.
Okay,
Like,
seriously, I'm going to start crying. So can we just start?
so stop. So I have to say this. I have to say this.
Love
Okay.
you.
So today,
Wait, we forgot to say something. I
what?
know we want to rush, but let's acknowledge the World Without People podcast.
We're going to do all that. You're running
What?
ahead.
Oh,
You're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead. Okay, now that you mention it, Nita is also the host of, is it host or hostess? I don't know. They joined all of us.
all of them.
Yes.
So it's the host of The World Without People. I love the name of that podcast.
Yes.
The World Without People.
Thank you.
I don't even know how that would look like.
Exactly. And that's the point.
But we're seeing it through the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Amazing story about the podcast that we'll wait until later on.
Yeah.
So the premise of my God Story series, when we started to think about it, really, the premise was we wanted people to come share how God has, almost like your God journey, because everybody has one, right?
Mhm.
Everybody has one, because we all it's in phases. Like there's some of us that have been through some things that when we look at where we are now, we're like,
Yeah.
how?
Yeah.
And I've seen so much of that. Almost, in fact, in the last 4 people that have been here, from Josh
Yeah.
to Tokes
Yeah.
to Carol to Fumbi and Tommy,
Yeah.
they've just, if you can see that beautiful transformation of living life without God and then translating it to now living life with God, and almost like an abandonment. Like, look, Lord, there's no other way that I can go.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So
Yeah.
I might as well just abandon myself to you.
Yeah.
So that was the premise of why we wanted to do this, to show people
Right.
that, look, a life with God almost is the only way to go. You don't have an alternative.
Yeah.
You do not have an alternative, but we didn't want to just say it. We wanted to show it. Because when
Right.
you're hearing somebody say their story,
Right.
even for me that I know these people, my mind was still blown because I was reminded of things. I'm like, wow. Like, I remember that. Because even with Carol, I kept saying, whoa, I remember that. I remember that. But to see how she came through this and what she's doing now, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So let's start off with Nife, Dr. Robert. Please introduce yourself.
Wow. Oh, I was not expecting that one. Honestly, that's it's so funny. I should have that down packed by now because with work and everything. I'm a Jesus baby. I'll start with that. I'm a very much a Jesus baby. I think one of the things that I always kind of go back to God and I'm like, well, I don't have that, journey because I grew up in the church. I danced in church. I acted in church. I remember, I will never forget one teenage church, like they had asked me to come and preach. So I wore this really pink, nice dress that I had worn for my auntie's wedding. And I was like you would have thought it was like a pink, like this, what a bridal, like I was what they call those things, not junior bridesmaid. So you can imagine what that outfit was for me to go in front of people to go and preach at church. So I've always kind of been a Jesus baby. And I do thank God for that, because in the midst of, okay, I'm fighting with you and I don't want to talk to you and I'm not praying, there's always been that constant. So there's that. I'm the first of 7 technically. So there's that. And I'm an October baby. I say that with so much pride. I just love being a fall baby. There's just something about it for me. Like you guys said, I'm a doctor in public health. And I can now add I'm married to
Ah,
Listen,
different.
you know what?
Right?
But there's so much I want us to unpack. But before we even go there,
Yeah.
so starting out when you came to the US,
Mm-hmm.
you came by yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
your mom. You came with your mom. It was just you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you came by yourself, not even
So
with your
on
mom.
well on the plane I came with my dad. And my dad was around for like about a week or so. I was at his friend's place for about a year and a half, and things were not working out for me, and so I upped my bag and took my bags and left. So today my dad just thinks it's one of the bravest things I've ever done, because it's like we're just
Like, who did you know
we're just
that
doing
you were leaving?
things.
How
Yes,
old were
but it
you?
wasn't comfortable for me. I think I was 19 going on 20, because I graduated. I got in January 2004 and graduated in 2008, and I had moved out by 2006. So yeah, and it wasn't comfortable for me. And see, I'm like, of everything, I always tell people, because oh, you do this, you do that, you're always doing for people,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't do anything that I'm not comfortable with. If I'm not
Yeah.
comfortable, I'm
No,
eventually
I
going to.
got that.
So it's funny. I
Yeah.
was just still talking to my sister about that 2 days ago. Like, at the end of the day, I wasn't comfortable, and yes, I didn't really know too many people. I stayed with a friend for like a little while before I hustled and got a place.
Mhm.
And I remember the my first place, they stole my computer maybe days later. And it's the only time that it's funny, because I always say that I've never had a what's it called experience, like a really bad like
Good
experience
experience.
in
Even at
America
that
beyond
time.
work. But it was just one of those things that it was just like you didn't lock the door. They just knew that you just moved in, and that kind of thing. So maybe I didn't lock the door. I don't know whatever happened. But I say that to say that that was it's been like that for me, that one thing I will say, I wasn't comfortable, and I moved out, and I knew that it wasn't because I knew that, or I knew what I was going to do, or that things were going to be better. But I've always kind of had that confidence with, well, it's better with God
Mhm.
outside. I don't care where I am, than it is to be suffering. Me, I don't just believe in suffering. I just feel like God did not create us for suffering. Don't get me
What's
wrong.
up?
Hardship
Come
is,
on.
yes,
Hmm.
hardship is hardship. You have to go through certain things. And I think there's a certain level of knowing the difference between God is trying to take you through, or there's a
Insane.
lesson that you need to learn,
Hmm.
compared to, okay, this is just, I mean, a living situation. I'd rather go and sleep on somebody's couch and or on the floor, than being in a place where I couldn't breathe, or I wasn't comfortable. So I think for me, those are just two different things. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the start of my journey.
So you came at 18, then
Yes,
your
I just
brother
turned 18.
joined 2 years later.
Yes, and then my brother joined 2 years later in New York. So at
And
least initially it was all right. He was in New York. He was on campus. So it's so funny. I never ended up staying on campus,
wow.
because when I first of all did what's that thing called? What's this thing you do? The 2 year college,
Mhm.
and then went to the 4 year college.
Mhm.
But and it's funny, because back then I remember being a little jealous about the fact that he had
He
gone
was
to
living on
he
campus.
was now living on campus. Meanwhile, me, I was
Mhm.
suffering on the streets,
Oh my God.
somebody's
Yeah,
couch,
wow.
and blah blah blah. But
Right.
then, yeah, then I think a year or 2 years later, my brother wasn't doing well in school. I'm like, where they do that at? With which school fees that we are paying with money that we don't have? And we're
Community
already
money.
suffering, and we're already begging for money. Bring your ass to Michigan, and so that's how my brother
And then
came
he
to
moved to
Michigan.
Michigan.
And honestly, I always say this as a, like, it's just one of the things I always feel like I don't know what my life is about. But when I think of like little ways that maybe something I said to someone made some kind of an impact. My brother graduated
Right.
the valedictorian of his class year.
Wow.
Went on to
What
start
if
his.
he didn't move? What if oh,
Do you understand? Like, do you understand? And I honestly, I can say that with each of my siblings. And then let me just even start to talk about even like some of my friends and all of that, like,
mm.
or my youths, Nife and all of them that,
That's
you
the
now
that's
see,
the firstborn thing. That's the
yeah,
firstborn. That's the first child thing. It's
yeah,
inside you. Like you can't
yeah,
remove it.
yeah.
So then he joined. He came, and then your
Yeah.
sisters came.
Yeah, so my baby sister then came because she had just graduated undergrad, I mean whatever, college. But it's
Mm.
funny because my third sister hadn't come because we laugh at this story, but in my head, I have a memory of all of us sitting down together at some point, and this was probably after parents were already divorced too, and we're trying to, just be around each other and console each other and all of that, and and like, okay, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do that, and so Mutalani was going to be the lawyer. There was no way she from the get, her mouth was just, her eyes were big, everything.
Tiny Tolani.
Tiniest of us all, right? But she was going to be a lawyer. We knew it, and we said it, and we called it, and we declared it, and that's exactly what she's doing. I always say that Shion was the only one that we did not say exactly what it is that she wanted to do, but because last born, because she's the last born of my mom, so it's like, okay, maybe that's why we didn't ever really kind of say what she wanted to do. She's doing amazingly well now, but sometimes I wonder if we had said it, maybe that's exactly what she would be doing. But yeah, so Mutalani was, because she doesn't like me to call her Talani. Mutalani was in Nigeria, so she did her undergrad there, did her law school there, and again, so same story, came here, and it's funny because I just look at the fact that I was here for 16 years before I got my papers. Talani in 7 years had her second job that she got. She had asked me, oh, should I go in for this job? It's already late. I'm like, yes, go in. At the time they were going to say, oh, what's your paper situation? They did green card. They did not, they jumped, they skipped work visa and did green card. And now my sister is this thing. Meanwhile, the rest of us, I don't know. And I'm just like, so again, to the point of firstborn, sometimes honestly, in another life, God, please make me the last child. Oh my God. I've seen so many of my people like just be so they're rich, they're doing big things, and I'm just like, God, this is like what's happening? Like when
you're going to do big things. It's fine.
You're already she's already doing big things.
Amen. But you get my point. So like, I feel like to the point of God journey is like still being able to stay knowing that yes, everybody seems to even be doing bigger and better things, but God got you. You're not suffering. Everything is all right. You're happy,
Yeah, but that can be actually, what's the word I'm trying to use? That can be a bit make you feel somehow.
Yeah.
Because I talk about your mother, your father, right? Nobody can misbehave under you, because if anybody misbehaves under you, then you're the one that's going to get in trouble.
Right.
And then in a foreign country, that's my thing. Because I remember my parents separated for 3 years. And in those 3 years, I was mom, I was dad. And till today, I think by the time I decided to forgive my parents, it was my peeve or my annoyance was, how are you going to put someone in this direction to be the one giving people direction? Where did they do that at?
Yeah.
In Nigeria, because a lot of my friends who needed direction were the ones giving direction. And I'm like, so now you want to come and do, please don't come near me. Everybody just stay their own, So sometimes the thing will just come on my head like, everybody go to your corner, leave me alone. Am I the only one here? Just leave me alone. But you see, so when that was happening, when you were the one that was doing all this, because I imagine that sometimes they got sick.
Yeah.
You were the one that was running. You were the one that was mommy and daddy. Meanwhile, mommy and daddy they were probably calling you. What's going on? No, what cough? Is that cough? What kind of cough is that? Are you going to the hospital? Now you have to worry about insurance. Please, nobody should get sick. Nobody should get sick.
Yeah. So I will tell you this: God is entirely faithful. I do not remember one time when any of my siblings were sick. I don't remember. I mean, maybe it is very, very possible, but I don't remember any time that they were so sick that, there had to be anything crazy. By the time Oluwaseun was here, and when she was sick, she was in school, and it wasn't even really sick. She was dealing with, she was an athlete, so whatever pains that she was going through from running and everything, she was in school, so she was able to use school insurance. Michigan, and again, some of these things you don't even, so the backstory of why I went to Michigan, for example, was because I wanted to be Ben Carson. I think I've said the story before. I wanted to be And at the time when
Oh my God.
before the whole thing, so I wanted to be fancasting. I was going to go to PhD. I was going to go to medical school. I was psychology. Like I had it all down packed. And he went to Michigan, and so I was going to go to Michigan. And so the whole thing, the only thing I didn't end up doing was medical school because I don't know, I think it was organic chemistry. So somebody still asked me the other day that did you even try the MCAT? I'm like, organic chemistry was enough for me to be like, no. I'm not doing this. And then international student again, it was expensive. So I just didn't end up doing it or whatever. But I was going to do just exactly what he did. Anyways, I say all of that to say that Michigan was great as far as like, it was not as expensive as Jersey. It was health insurance. You could get through the community health, what's it called? Like I have my records of all my vaccinations from the community health clinic in Michigan and everything. We had resources that international students could take advantage of and everything, such that even when they came and they maybe just needed routine anything, we knew that this is where we could go. And I think it's funny because obviously I had to come and experience it so that I could then be able to now navigate them. This is where you go. So even when my brother was this is where you go to. When my sister moved to Pennsylvania, this is where you go to, because we know, like for example, I'm very anybody that I always used to say that Pastor Jide would do this thing where once somebody comes and is an international student, oh hi, this is Nife. Let her take you through, and I was able to say, okay, this is how you get through community health resources. This is how you get through health resources and all of that. So all of those things at the end of the day gave me the tools that it's funny, like I always laugh about the amount of people that came through my house to have babies, like just they'll come and stay with me, have a baby. I mean, I think I've gone to like 7 or 8. So, but because I was able to help them navigate through this, that, not because I've had any babies, but because I knew enough of all the different resources where to look for, because I had to be that I had to be that what's the word? Resourceful. Yes, I had to be the resource person. For the longest time, Auntie Gladys never bought a ticket by herself. She and her husband never bought a ticket for us.
For real?
The longest time, they never bought a ticket for themselves.
Hotel, ticket, I'm going, blah, 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 please. And she'll find something good.
Amtrak, like they want to do Amtrak. And they lived in America more than me, or longer than me, or before me. I'm telling you, like, because I had to.
When somebody has already done it, why am I going to suffer myself now?
It was a good resource. I have a question though, because
of course,
I've just been watching and listening, and I see strength in all of that. And I see a woman who has, yes, you've been through it. I think I'm forgetting to charge my laptop, like you said. You've been through it all, and I see a woman who, yes, right now you're smiling, but during what was that work like? Emotionally for you at 19, having to navigate this path yourself. What was it like? Did you have resources? Did you have people at that time? Did you have Gladys, or did you have to navigate?
Oh no.
So what was it like emotionally? Just because you're firstborn, and I'm a firstborn too, and I know that's firstborn.
I know. And the laptop is on the
There's a lot that you shoulder. You don't actually share with people because somehow you just. Yes, we are blessed with God capacity to handle it.
But
sometimes you just need an outlet. How did you navigate that part?
I worked a lot. It's so funny because it's a very random thing, but I feel like working didn't allow me think too much. I wasn't really in that to be thinking too much. I think that was one thing that helped. If I wasn't working, I was reading a novel. And Pastor B, if she's watching this, she always says how Nife is always so practical. I am very practical. I will be honest with you. I didn't really do a lot of breaking down and crying. I'll be very honest. Every so often to my mom, just maybe in an emotional state. Maybe when things were like, I'm the kind of person that, okay, let's say rent was due. I will still be okay, but January 31st, when February 1st is, that's when I'm now breaking. I'm just like, how is it that even my little face did not carry me enough? How is it that everything didn't work out? But until January 31st, I'm at least okay. between that January 31st to February 1st, when it looks like now I'm now going to be owing somebody, and then that's when I can now be like, hey, God, you have disappointed me. You have left me alone. I think there were several times I called my father and be like, do you want me to be a prostitute on the streets? Do you want me to be a prostitute? I'm your firstborn. I've done everything right. I've done everything. So there were those times. I'll be very honest with you. Like, but in general, I think I held it. I'll be honest. I think I also held it for so long too, and I didn't even realize I was holding things until actually when I came to Jersey. So when I moved to Jersey, I was okay. Jersey story is very interesting. So what happened was I got in this admission to Rutgers, and then I got in the admission to Rutgers with the promise of this one job. And so look at God, like he had already made a way, because there was no way we were going to pay for PhD in the first place. And then I came for the interview for that job, and I got to the school and they said the woman had cancelled the job. I never even saw the woman that day. Turns out it was that woman that I briefly was going to finish my PhD with. Long story, but anyways, so never got the job. So this is me now crying on my way back to Michigan. Right? But whatever the case is, like, okay, God, you that gave me that one job opportunity, possibility, you do it. Honestly, I think that if I had more faith at that time and maybe was much more prayerful, maybe it would have helped. But clearly, I did not. I know I now hold God on his neck.
Did you know anybody in Jersey?
And so now we are now looking for people in Jersey. Who do we know in Jersey? Where can I stay in Jersey? Blah blah blah. So that's how I ended up staying with my uncle's second wife.
Oh, wow.
Second wife's sister. And all of that. Never met her before, all of that stuff. But hey, she took me in. And again, in another year, I was out. And at this point, all of my property was in my car, my baby blue. I will never forget. I went to sit down by the river and I said, you know what?
By the river.
It's time, because I can swim, but I'm not a good swimmer. So I just figured that by the time I was tired of swimming, I will go away, and that's that about that. And that was when I called Pastor Jide. At this point in time, I come to Agape a couple of times. So he always says the story. I think he even said it on the wedding day. Because then I now called and I'm like, I don't understand. But anyways, I say all of that to say I was suicidal. I was ready to kill myself and all of that. But I think that for me, this is where I've always said that at the end of the day, God has always been. I've always known that there was God. I mean, that's the only reason why I would have called a Pastor Jide of all the many people that I could have potentially called in the world. That's number one. But number two, I think it was also holding it in for that long. One other thing that I did, and I will say, is that before that, I started to write. Writing is till today, sometimes if I feel like I want God to do something, I feel like if I've not written it, I don't want it. If I've not written it, then I clearly don't want it. It's just a thing in my head or whatever, because I feel like God has answered a lot of my written prayers. And in general, blogging was that relief. I was blogging and I didn't even, at the time I wasn't showing my face then, or I was still very shy. So I wasn't showing my face anything. These were just random people. And it became, relatively big at the time as well. And that was very, very helpful. I was able to purge, also without even really saying too much, but still able to.
Because you're writing it down.
Exactly. So that's how I dealt with my emotional states.
Wow.
So you say that in dealing with the I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
At what point did you meet God? I think that's my question. At what point did you know God before you came to America? Did you have a relationship with God?
Yeah.
Have you always been like Jesus baby from prior to your moving, or was it something that metamorphosed when you came here?
Yeah. No, so that was what I was saying in the first question, that yes, I'd always been a Jesus girl. Through the ups and the downs. So like I was trying to point out that it's been up and down. There's no, let me be very, very clear. So, through all of that, through the divorce, I remember right before I was coming, my aunt had died, and family friend really, but an aunt and then her daughter. So both of them had died in that car accident. incident.
Oh.
I remember I still have my journal where I was writing like, God, I don't understand. Like, God, what is happening? So, like I said, writing had always been my thing, but
Yeah.
it helped much more when I was blogging, when I was now
Mhm.
sharing it with people. But I have all my journals and I'm right in there. I'm asking God, but God, I don't understand. Why do I feel this? Why am I this way? Why am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about that? As you're going through even things like, you're starting to like a boy, and I'm like, okay, are we supposed to like a boy? Are we supposed to kiss? Are we supposed to, all of that stuff? Like I've always known and loved God. No, now, let me tell you, it doesn't mean I've not sinned. There was one time I was like, God, you know what? Leave me alone. I'm not talking to you. I'm going to go and get a boyfriend. And I was done. I was like, and I was still pray, and I was still
Yeah, we've
maybe.
all been there.
But
We've all
I'm
been
like, you know what,
there.
this thing you cannot. What is it? It's okay
Yeah.
because
Listen,
if you do good, you will get bad. If you do bad, you will get
you
bad.
get bad. So what's the point? Yeah, what's the
So
point?
what's
I
the
mean,
point?
at some point, sometimes we tell God, and I know I got to a point in my life where I told God, you know what? Yeah, I don't care anymore.
Seriously.
I was that person last
But
year.
the thing is,
Leave me alone.
yeah, God did not leave us
Seriously.
alone, because if He
Seriously.
had left us alone, I don't
Yes.
even know where we would be.
Yes.
I actually heard a
Absolutely.
story like that. I went to, it was in PA, it was a fire night thing for, oh my God, one of these prophetic. And the guy was telling his story about how he met God. Like, he actually told God, leave me
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
And he said when he said it, they
Yeah.
actually felt God leave.
Leave him alone.
Like, he actually felt God leave. But his story is now that it was his birthday, and he was in Spain where he knew nobody.
Mm.
He was in Spain, and the people, his roommates, were like, "Oh, we'll take you out." So they took him out. But when they got to the place, there was so much. They said, those clubs where you can't hear anybody. All you're hearing. And he said, when he asked them, "Where are we?" He said, "This is the biggest club
Mm.
in Spain."
Mm.
And then he said in his mind, me, a child of God.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said in his mind, he said, "But you told God to leave you alone."
Yeah, alone.
You
Yeah.
see where you found yourself.
Yeah.
And then that night, those three boys, they left him alone in that Spain, in that club. That
Yeah,
club,
you
they
did
left
not
him.
know anybody.
So when he was walking around to say, okay, maybe I'll sleep somewhere,
Yeah.
some room. And then the morning, said he walked into this room, he met this lady who ended up being a pastor.
Mm.
And those three boys were her sons. And
Wow.
he ended up serving in her church in Spain for a year and a half.
Wow.
He was
Wow.
their worship,
Yeah.
their keyboardist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they had
And I
told God,
feel like,
leave me alone.
yeah.
If all the times we have told God, just leave me alone. Like I remember saying, God, if you're not going to solve my problem,
Yeah. So,
As in,
just free
yeah.
me,
Yes.
leave me be.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
am thankful today that he did not.
Never did. Yeah.
Because if he had, I don't even know. Maybe I'll be fifth wife to one allergy. Whoa.
But I was gonna say that I think for me, one of the things I realized is that even when I said that, I've always been very, I don't know if subject is another word. I've always subjected myself to my elders. I've never really had an issue with that. And as you said, Sister Dolakwa is here, so she knows. The one time I said, "Oh, I'm going to be dating somebody," blah blah blah, I open and profess myself to her. I was very like, "This is what happened. This is what I did. This is what I did." Like,
No.
that kind of thing. Like, I think for me that was also very helpful because by not hiding, by
Yeah.
not hiding in those, like, okay, for example, I one of the things that really helped me too, I was a youth leader for like the longest time. So that kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. It's like, oh
Right.
God, what am I going to do? I don't want you to now. There's a place in the Bible that says, oh, a teacher will be, what's it called? 10 times more.
Yes.
I don't want any wahala. The
Yeah.
minute I said I was tired, God was annoying me, and I said
Right.
I took several seats away from youth leader. Don't come and use this one to now kill me. I say that to say there are some things that are very, very clear in the Bible that I also didn't want
Don't
to
even,
ever, like, I mean, it's easy to say, okay, well, you know that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That is fine. As many that can or will do it or whatever, I still feel like God will forgive, But there are other things like be humble. don't judge. You know, as a teacher, don't. There's some. It was those were much more clear for me
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
much more. God will whoop my ass.
Mhm. If you
God
did
will whoop
that,
my, and he may not
yeah.
whoop every other person's ass, but he
But
will whoop
your
my
phone.
ass. And
Mhm.
I know for a fact that I understand this thing. Like there's something like just for me to be obedient about. Like sex is like, I feel like it's one of those things where, because I don't know, it's a fleshy thing. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to explain it.
Mhm.
I can see how we fall into that sin, right?
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
man and woman. But
Right.
don't lie. Not to say that again, that's not a fleshy thing, but
Right.
there's moments when I know, like, what would the line? Who will kill me? Who will
Mhm.
beat me?
Oh, I did it.
And then he also says the devil is the father of
Yeah,
lies.
of liars. Oh,
That me.
I
I,
am not his
because
child.
if I'm lying at that moment, I remember that Bible verse. The devil is one of liars. You know,
That means you are the children of, you are a child of.
so I think that for me, I'm really grateful to that. Like, one, reading the Bible, I've been able to have read it a lot.
Mhm.
As I grew older, I was consistently reading it as well. There were some things that were so clear, so you had to be obedient. I had to be obedient. I was sure of there's no what's it
In
called,
between.
ambiguity
Yeah.
about this. And somewhere, so I think that also really kind of just helped me not be too far away. So yes, I'm telling him leave me alone, but
But
I was still
mm,
like able to guide myself, right, in the things that I knew for sure that he
right.
wanted and told us to do. So
But I also think that in that time, though, you had a lot of our children hanging on you.
right,
Hmm.
It was
right,
almost like we just handed like the kids, like, Nife will take care of it.
yeah,
So I think that would be where I cannot lead these people astray.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
I can't lead them astray.
yeah,
You see
yeah.
all those ones in college now. Oh, no, they've all graduated. Though.
We've all graduated. Oh
All
my,
the
all my babies are
all
graduated.
her babies have not graduated from.
Yeah,
So imagine
masters and
putting
all of
them
that.
from
Yeah,
from
yeah.
middle school through high
And one
school.
is about to get married. It's mind blowing, honestly. I
Yeah.
feel old. I mean, I look young, but I feel old. But I'm
See,
just like,
you feel old. The bridal shower. So
yeah.
they had the youth, the young people,
I
and
saw
the
versus
and the
old
old
people
people. I
dancing.
refuse. They were all asking me, Auntie, why are you not dancing with them? I said, do you see them? Do you see
Yes.
they're dancing like all those old church mothers? No, no, no. Do
I'm
not
going to my
come
young
and bring my
people.
steez down. The wedding is still coming. Don't go and they say this that's that auntie that was dancing with the old people. No,
That's funny.
no. So I mean, speaking about wedding, speaking
Mhm.
about
Hmm.
you had uh
Are you about to jump to the wedding, or do you want to talk about pre
yeah,
meeting?
we're gonna do all of
After,
them.
after. How
We're
interested
gonna
is that?
follow me.
So
So
follow me.
I mean, when you talk about praying for, I've never seen someone that a number of people already saw her husband before she did. Like we didn't physically see.
Yeah.
We just saw what we would like for her.
Hmm.
We just saw who I mean the package that God had to put together for this one girl. And he, as far as I'm concerned, though, he checked off every page.
Yep.
He checked off every page. But before we even come to that, you had friends who got married. You had friends who had children.
Mhm.
Was there at any point in time when you felt like, well, okay, this marriage thing, I don't think it's
This is
for
for me.
me.
So a couple things. For the longest time, anyone's get married. I mean, I think most people, if your parents have been divorced, you have that. Well, maybe some people are now entirely opposite, and they're like, oh my god, I can't wait. I want to have the best marriage in the world. Blah blah blah. And then I always tell people this. I don't. Sometimes I feel like I don't have faith for a lot of things, right? Or at least I like faith had to grow for certain things. So I'm now at the
Mhm.
place where faith for my career is like, it is what it is. Like, I've been through the hell and back of career that I know that, you know what, yes, God, I'm not yet earning $200,000, and in my mind, there are people that are undergrad, they're still earning $2,000. They're earning $2,000 already. You know, that kind of like, okay, but I'm like, God, you know what? You like, when you're ready for me, when I'm ready for you on this work one, it'll be. But I had to go through all of the issues with career to get to that place, right? But marriage one, I went to my book. I still have that. I have all my journals. I carried it from Nigeria to America, and I've taken it back to Nigeria now. It's waiting for me. So, I think I kind of had a confidence about that one that I couldn't explain. But for the longest time, I still now said, you know what, I didn't want to marry. It was a couple of things, seeing people just go through, issues in marriage. And it's funny because even then, it doesn't seem like it's as worse as it is now. And yet, there was a feeling of, this is nonsense. I always tell people that part of why I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on live TV, but part of why I decided that, God, please leave me alone, I'm going to go have a boyfriend, was because a lot of people were getting raped. And so this thing, and now I know it's the devil, but it was in my head. Somebody's going to rape you. You better just give it away by yourself. I went to the doctor. I said, this is what I want to do. Tell me what I need to do. I'm sure they've never seen it before in their life. I'm sure. Till today, I'm sure they've never seen it before in their life. They were flabbergasted. Okay. So it was a doctor that gave me sexual education. Because I'm like, see, and it was such a rampant thing. Everybody, like people that will marry virgins and then, they're getting HIV and all of that. And sometimes I think it's just too much knowledge of things. Like now the current thing in my head, and I'm just like, God, help a child, is cancer. Everything. If I take lip balm, I'll say, hey, God, does this have, what are the products in this lip balm to real love? If I'm not saying, I'm like, maybe I should be using shea butter, because at this rate, everything is causing cancer. And I'm just like, God, please, I don't like, this is one thing that you cannot do to me, and then I remember Job's thing talking about, like, his fear happened. I'm like, God, please, now I'm begging you. By the way, I'd also been, I'd had 3 different attempts on rape pretty much at that point as well. So I was like, at this point, I'm just like, you know what, at the end of the day. So I say that to say that I was fairly okay with my decision to not get married. Then on the days that I did have it, again, it was a talk to God kind of thing. In fact, I remember there was a guy, well, I think you both know him, but at the time I was like, well, I know you.
You know me.
We are friends. I think we can do this. Even
Your people shall be my people.
Even though there are some issues like that, I can see that.
You see red flags when you were going to settle anyway.
Yes, I was very much going to settle, but I was like, you know what? I'm settling by choice. Like at the end of the day, and this was the thing, right? At some point, it became a Nife, you're the problem. Nife, you're not doing this, and Nife, you're not doing that, and you're not listening to this, and you're not listening to that, and you're just like, hey, God. And so I always tell people, if I'm talking, I cannot be talking to somebody. If I'm talking to somebody, I must tell somebody, because I don't want wahala. Let's put it on the table. Let everybody, let's all look at it together. Let all of our eyes be shining together, please. Because I don't want wahala. Because at the end of the day, it's like the quote unquote longer, the older you get, it was like at this point, I also don't now want to go and settle again. I've decided that, whatever the case is, I'm no longer settling.
You know what I told someone? Yeah. You know what I told someone? They were 40 when they got married.
Yeah.
And then within 6 months, this guy starts to and she's crying. She's doing I said, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You waited until 40.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Like, I didn't know. If I like to get scared because I would see this beautiful ladies, good character and everything. It's like, what is wrong? Like, why? I think when I'm seeing people wait until 40, I think some guys now still misbehave. It's like, what's going on? Like, it's not gelling.
And it's very important that people, one, you need to really know, do you want to marry? Like, let's be very, very honest. Do you actually want to be married? Do you want to be married? Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I'm packing all of the stuff. I'm getting ready to travel. And we have been talking or whatever. But by this time, I'm now really hauling things into the car and all of that stuff. And by the time I finished, I'm expecting, hey, yeah, baby, well done, all of that stuff. And he's on his computer not saying anything. And I'm just like, excuse you?
This
No,
is
no, 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 baby, sorry. I'm like, bye-bye, it's too late. Like, and he's actually been trying to call me now because we have not spoken all day. I mean, we chatted, but we've not spoken all day. And he's been trying to call me, and I hadn't told him that we were getting on this live thing.
Yeah.
As soon as I call him back now, I have to apologize for it.
Yeah,
I
you didn't
have
tell
to
me.
be the one to now apologize for it.
Guys.
So sorry, man. I'm not ignoring you. That's not what had
Yeah.
happened. What had happened was I won the pot. Do you understand that kind of thing? Are you ready to deal with that kind of thing? That's number one, right? So that whole, and they tell you, and it's true, is forgiveness, grace, but also
Right.
knowing yourself. Like, for example, I've been here for 2 weeks or whatever. I'm not dying. Because my husband is not here. And do I miss him? Yes, but I'm okay. I have my own
But
people.
did you hear? You know what someone told me?
Yes.
They said, I think my husband was traveling, right, and he was
Yeah.
away. Had been away for like 3 months or
Yeah.
so, 6 months, because he was out of the country. And the person told me, "Oh no, oh no, we can't, we don't do that." I'm like, "Hey, what
Yeah. Like, no.
does that mean? Does that make your marriage better than
Yes,
mine?
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
what's there?
Exactly. But I'm my own person. I work for 2, 3 jobs. Like, we are not.
No. I love that you
Yeah.
say that you are your own person,
Yeah.
because I feel like sometimes people get married and then we can't find them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they are now hidden. I'm
Yeah.
now Mrs. Somebody. Like, no, before you're Mrs. Somebody, you're
Yes.
also
No.
you.
Yes.
It has to be you. You can Your identity cannot be erased because you
Yeah.
got married.
Yeah.
Right? I had a case where this girl was so scared of the guy that whenever they had a fight, the first thing she does is, in fact, she calls him Mr.
Mm.
Mr. At first day I said, that's the problem. That's the problem right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when he's Mr. to you,
Yeah.
that's like Oga and
Yeah.
right? That's boss and employee.
Yeah.
So that's the problem right there. Right
Yeah.
there. There's already a problem for me, which she didn't see. There was respect.
Yeah.
In our culture, right? In the African culture, well, in the do I say Nigerian culture? Because men are so, I don't know why. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know where that thing started from. I don't know how it started. Where the man is like
Yeah.
king and the woman is.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? From even from teenage years, I knew.
You knew that was not for you. And honestly, like, one of the things, as you were even talking, I think another thing for me through that journey, when I'm seeing all my friends, I remember, I will never forget. I mean, the amount of friends, like, oh, you're saying there's no boy, there's no man in church. All the girls are getting married. And I used to think, and no offense to all my guy friends or to all the husbands of my friends, I love you all. So I'm like, I don't want your marriage. Like, I don't want your
Right?
like it's no offense to you or to the relationship or to how you, but I was certain about what, okay, and another one that used to kill people was I wanted a tall guy. I've said it, I stood on business on that one. Apart from the one time I was going to settle.
When you get a tall glass of water.
Business. I don't care what you say. I want a tall guy. It's me that has to say it morning.
So you maintain your standards.
I maintained my standard.
Yeah.
So, for example, when you're not telling me that, oh, this person is married, okay, married a short guy. I don't want a short guy. I love them for each other. They are perfect for each other. Blah blah blah. I remember telling somebody, and this was such a big deal because Pastor didn't even have to get involved. Hi, Pastor. Because I said, oh, I want somebody that can dance. If you've seen my husband, you know now that he knows how to dance. And this was such a big deal too. Like, it's a lie. She just doesn't want to marry. She's just casual about some of these things. And I said, let me tell you why I said that. For me, I can be in the store, like you know how you're like a Target or something, and they're jamming. Me, I will start
Dancing.
in the middle of the Target, and I don't want my husband to now come and tell me what's
What
wrong
are
with you.
you
Why you
doing?
behave like that?
Yeah.
Whereas he can join me in the dancing,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, for me, I don't. That's my own fun thing. That's my own relief thing. That's one of my. I'm not so I don't do comedy. I won't
Yeah.
necessarily sit down and watch
But the
comedy
dance.
with this person. There's not too many things we're going to
Yeah.
have in
Right.
common,
Mhm.
just in general, right? Like just life,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, I wanted the one thing that was important to me, and they almost made me feel
Like there
like
was something
I
wrong.
was wicked by
Hmm.
saying that, and that I was useless really by
No,
saying that.
it could be that you were being like, okay, so you're getting older and you're
Right.
now putting all these
Yeah,
things in
still
you.
being
Like
very
you're
picky.
choosy, you're picky. Like
Hmm.
Me and my husband,
I'm sure
we
I'm sure
danced
the
on that
person
wedding
probably
day.
thought you're going to end up with a short man
Same
at the
lady
end of
and I
the
danced on
day.
that wedding day. We danced.
Oh
We
my
danced well.
God.
We
Oh
danced.
my
No, we did not
God.
see anybody on the dance floor. We
Do
danced.
you know that who was I? It was me and Janet. We went to this big supermarket.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
And so Janet, we were on the aisle and they started playing all this music. I didn't know when I started dancing.
Yeah.
There was another lady that came from the other, and me and her were doing,
Yeah.
me and her were dancing on the
Wow.
thing. But
I
it takes a man, and that's where I'm saying the intimidation comes in.
Yeah.
Because if you start to dance, and then he's like, stop this embarrassing me.
Yeah.
Why are you dancing? It
Mhm.
takes you need a man who compliments your strengths, right? They
Yeah.
don't demean him, they don't
Yeah.
bring his own strength
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
My husband is not going to bust a move inside the supermarket,
Yeah.
but he knows I will.
Yes.
And if somebody is giving me side eye, he probably will
Look
say,
at them
look,
beside that.
we can use music to carry this girl away.
Exactly.
Because he says that all the time.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
the things that are quirks to him,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think the guy has to be able to. I feel like the guy has to be able to not feel, oh, you're embarrassing me because you're
Yeah.
dancing, or you're
Yeah.
embarrassing
But
me
it
because.
wasn't about the guy, and that was the point. That I
It-
wasn't, it
but
wasn't
for
about the
you, what
guy.
they
It was what
saw,
I wanted,
yeah,
and
but what
what
they
I
saw,
want matter. So nobody could tell me that because I was single and what I want does
listen,
not matter.
if a guy said that,
Yeah,
I
it was a
want
guy.
a girl who can dance, they
Oh,
will not raise
Nobody would have
eyes.
said anything.
yeah, yeah,
That's not anything.
absolutely, absolutely,
Because
absolutely,
again, it's a mindset thing. The
absolutely.
guy gets to be the one who is able to make all these
Right,
choices, right? I don't want a fat girl.
right.
I want a slim girl. Imagine a fat man saying, I don't want a fat girl. Like, have you looked at the mirror? Have
Right.
you looked in the mirror? It was in this all these relationship ones that they do now all over Facebook.
Yeah,
The guy was like 300 pounds. This girl was big boned, and he looks at her and he says, she's not my type. Why? She's fat. The girl just took microphone and said, did you look in the mirror
no,
today?
but the point is, right? Everybody is allowed to, and I think that's just what I want to encourage women. Anybody who's, as they say, older, whatever that means, who
Right.
is still this thing, you are allowed to pick. You are allowed to choose. You are advised. You are the one that is going to sleep with this person at the end of the day. You are the one that is going to be with this person at the end of the day. You are the one that is going to be able to deal with this person, these quirks and all of that. Please pick for yourself. Don't pick for your mom. Don't pick for your dad.
Oh.
Don't pick for anybody else. Pick for yourself, because at the end of the day, right? I see. I wrote a whole thing. Demladi had that list. I gave it to him before we. I had a whole list. Now, when I wrote that list, I didn't write it because I thought I needed to check off the list. I wrote it as a list that I was writing to God, like, God, I want a man. For me, I wanted a man who was very, very family oriented. Like his family, me and his family, we love each other, they love us. They love me. Like I'm a baby girl in the entire family. I'm not even joking. Like I am like his mom can bring me soup every week if I wanted it. Like I am sport. I'm not
You know
even
how they handed this girl over to the family?
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
this,
It was like
this
a whole
whole reception to hand her over.
it was a
I
whole
was
thing.
like, hey,
It was a whole
Jesus.
thing. I say that to
Huh.
say that I specifically wrote I wanted a guy who had a loving family and who was family oriented, who had this, who had that. And I said it as I was talking to God. In fact, I was telling them, I said my own this thing was I did not say that you should be a billionaire, or I only wrote that we'll make the billionaire together. I should have rethunk it. So if you want a guy who's rich, there's nothing wrong with it.
Please.
Because at the end of the day, right, there are some people that are doing well, that are getting paid well. So why not ask for it?
It's funny that I'm quiet because I'm listening to you and I'm like, but sometimes they tell us in church, forget, throw away the list, don't be too picky, especially when the older you're getting, look for more the spiritual things.
I
This is
know,
what
but sorry, can I add? Spiritual is good. Spiritual is good. I wanted a guy who was a Christian, don't get me wrong, blah blah blah. I wrote that. But do you know that what are the fruits of the spirit? Are they quote unquote spiritual? Like, I don't know, maybe they are, but self-control, gentleness, kindness, all of those things. That is what I was writing about. And that's
Spiritual, they'll be slapping, they'll be
so what is
slapping.
spiritual? If spiritual is that he's
But
like
he's born
Jesus
again
and he's
now.
praying at 3 a.m. every morning, great. Me, I don't pray at 3 a.m. every morning, so I don't even know what that's what that is.
Like, somebody can hear you say, no, that's not it.
No.
That's
very carnal.
I think that people really should do what works for them.
for
At the end of
them.
the day, see, I won't lie to you. I knew that she has to be a Christian, and in fact, if you maybe know of them, like you may not think, especially because my husband is he was divorced, so obviously there was already that comma, quote unquote,
Right.
by what is a regular standard of a Christian, right? So there was that already. And then because you see him out, right? And it's funny, the boy now likes to sleep. I'm like, yeah, the only people knew that by 9 p.m. he's asleep. But you see him half of the time he's out. For him, out is he gets to be around friends, he gets to network. For him, out was not necessarily a thing, but he was a club boy in Lagos, all of that stuff. So all of that past things is what people. He actually, if sometimes when he's praying, I'm like, yeah, like me, I'm not even praying like that.
Sometimes you have come to the world to really see
The way
what
we
it's
pray,
like.
the way we read our Bible, the way we're so different, but
But it works.
Exactly, it
It's
adds.
different that works.
Do you understand? He's a church worker. He's all the things that you are supposed to use as metrics of church, he does. But what is a Christian without godly character? I do not know. I see. One thing I would say, I am a very loved baby girl. I am sports. My friends spoil me. My aunties spoil me. I'm very, very sports. And I really, really believe it's because of godly character. Because I don't have anything. There's nothing I have. I'm not lying to you. I have nothing. I do not. There's nothing beyond. Okay, somebody knows that if they shout on me, I will listen. If they was like, being kind, being this. That godly character. Let me just tell you, that is what you should be writing on your list. Everything else, now again, is all personal choice. If you want short, if you want this, God may have not given me the stone, but He knew me. I did not ask for much. I did not ask for much, so that thought was very, very much a given. That was going to give me no, but everything else was much more holistic than this thing. Like I said, I didn't ask for somebody who was rich. I really did not want anybody who was particularly so rich that I felt like he would disrespect me or he will. I guess sometimes now that I'm just like, Baba God, I'm gonna need you to make him rich, like established. Like it's just been 3 months, but I need him to be there. I need him to be rich. He's okay. I'm ready.
But the riches come.
Do you understand? But please write your list. I don't know what people or write it from a place of understanding that God is in control at the end of the day. A lot of this story with Demlade, not only did I write a list, I'd written the list way before I met him anyways. But as of the time we had our first interview on my podcast, I wrote down, I said, God, I don't know what this is about. I always said I didn't want to have be with a guy who is divorced. Plus, he's in Lagos. I don't know how this is going to happen. But I do feel like this is the kind of guy that I could marry.
Okay.
But I probably never seen him.
Because I was going to ask you, how did you meet him?
Yes. So
That was what I was going to ask.
Pat had crossed, well, let me say it like this. there is no way Pat had not crossed before now. I'm very close to his cousins. We have so many mutuals, and it's so funny. Even between both of us, mutuals, but then the parents, so many mutuals. The hall was packed, and if we had done that wedding on a Saturday, it would not have been funny. They would have kicked us out wherever where there was no venue that would have been able to take us.
Yeah, it was packed. It was packed.
So many mutuals, and then eventually I seen him write about how he had never been on a podcast he had never been on a social media app single. I mean that for 10 good years I'd been single. 10. For one stretch of 10 years, I'm like, God, I'm not talking to anybody, and nobody came. No, like it's like
Wow.
be very, very careful with your words. I will say this, people of God, be very, very careful with your words, whether you write it, whether you say it. I had told God I did not want to date during a PhD for 10 years. I think that was when I was ready to settle, because at some point it's like, I'm fine now. I'm not exactly not a babe. I'm not that fat. I'm not that, I don't have bad character. Like, why is nobody coming? And nobody was coming.
Wow.
Like, it was not even like, oh, they said nobody was coming to me kind of thing. So be very, very careful with your words. So for good 10 years, I did. So I didn't understand how somebody would say that in their 37 years of life. Yeah, this was the one period they had been single for the first time. I'm like, I want to hear about this. Come on. So,
for the first time.
So that was how
wow.
July. He didn't even reach out until October. And it's so funny because this October I was doing Hallelujah Challenge. So I go back and forth with whether I should do Hallelujah Challenge or not. Sometimes I'm like, it's too much. You people are just doing too much.
I know. I think that's the story of some of us. Like,
sometimes I'm like, this is great. This is the time in my life I need Hallelujah Challenge. Like, you need it, but like, that kind of thing. And I happened to be doing Hallelujah Challenge, and he had reached out, and he's like, oh, let's do it like ASAP before I lose my momentum, that kind of thing. And we did it. And like I said, that day, actually, it was the very first day we had even just had the call to say, oh, we're going to do the interview, that I now wrote that thing. And before that, I'd already, now, for many years, in fact, I remember when I was telling somebody that we were getting married, he was now trying to trace back, because for many years, I had even people tell me setting dates that, you get married by this time, or you have this thing by that time. It was the date me I wrote that God accomplished. So God fulfilled. And funny enough, I was trying to now look for it, but I don't have the book with me. Unfortunately, it's in Lagos. But it was the dates me I wrote, or at least closer to the dates that me I wrote that accomplished, because now God and I were clearly aligned. We were in the same place, and that was exactly how it happened. Like, so we did the interview, and then the funny thing is that when we did the interview, we were talking about, so to your point earlier about intimidation and everything, we were talking about doing work. And he used to use the story. I remember when we first met our counselors, they were a little bit worried, because they were like, does he want to marry me because I was a doer kind of thing? Because he had a project he wanted to do, same, around marriage, and just like a podcast kind of thing. And me, I'm like, you said what? You have something you want to do? Let's do it. And I, got behind it and blah, blah, blah. That was what we were talking about until I went to Nigeria, until we met. And 2 weeks later, he said, I want to marry you. So, and that was, so everything was just on, phone. And we were not talking about dating. We were talking about that project. But to your point, where some other person will see that attitude of, oh, doing.
Wants to take over.
Exactly. And he was ready to be like, let me drop it for you. Come and take over. Somebody who would like actually take his, like, he always says that, he's had so many plans or so many things, that every time he would tell somebody what he wants to do, whether guy or whether girl, they'll be like, when do you want to start? Well, I'm like, let's start. Whether we have money, whether we don't have money, like, let's just figure it out. Let's just start. And, anyway, so to God be the glory. But I think that another thing maybe for the women, just be doing. God you where you're doing. I don't know how to sit down. So I'm doing this thing somewhere.
By the time we have to scream at her, go and sit down.
Yes, like for length, I decided not to watch TV. And it's first of all, it's only 5 days, and I'm already like, what's like, why, how? This is painful. But I realized that it's also helping me not to continue to sit down, like in those moments where you would maybe sit down, like and that's been my thing. I've always been doing, and God will find you where you're doing. I started this podcast out of, oh, my company was about to end and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just felt a sense. It's not like I even really, obviously now I know that it's God. It was God that did all of this in the first place. But it wasn't like I felt like God came down and told me
Said, go and do well without people.
but exactly. But when I do something, I start and I try to ability to do it with excellence, and I think that was what helped me. So that's how a year later, no, it was even a year later, a year later, this thing, it's still my most listened to podcast till today. The podcast I did with David,
Wow.
most listened to.
You know what? You know what? That was the second episode, right?
No, it was episode 20.
It was episode 20. Yeah.
So
It was fun.
Yeah.
I remember when she sent it to me.
Yeah.
Because in those days, when she records, she'll just send.
Yeah.
When she sent it, as soon as I started listening to him, as I'm hearing them like talk, I said,
yeah, she said so. She did say so. There were a few people that said so. There were a few people that.
There was just something. It was just a settlement in my spirit. Like, this is Nifemi's guy. He matched. Like, I'm like, he matched. And this is a podcast, so I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
and I didn't have a video at the time. I didn't have video podcast at the time.
Like, because their energy, it matches. Their energy just matches. Like, they're speaking the same language. And they were both it was so easy to listen to. They were both, it was so fluid. And so when she called me and I was like, I know the guy. I know. She didn't tell me the name of the person, but I know the guy. I know the guy. It's him, right? It's him. Yeah. And so, but here's the thing that blew my mind. When I walked into the church venue, I saw him. It was exactly my vision.
Yeah.
The things I already knew that she had told me about him, that I had read about him, everything just matched with his physicality. Jesus. When you say God matched two people together, this was God. This was not man.
Yeah.
This was God.
It surely wasn't, because nobody would have told me that I would have said yes to marriage proposal in 2 weeks of meeting the guy. No, is it like, no way.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks?
Yes. I was leaving. I got to Nigeria on the 4th of February, and then we had gone out on Valentine's Day on the 14th. So I think 16th or 17th, he had already asked me. He had already said, "Oh, this is marriage for me."
How long did you guys date?
We didn't date. We dated through the preparation of the wedding. And I remember
about some things after this, because I had some questions. I mean,
no. See, just don't worry. Me myself, I was shook. I was very, very shook. I won't even lie to you. I wasn't scared because I knew it was God. Never that. So these are some of the things that I don't know if I've shared this before. I don't think I've shared it on my own podcast, but maybe if you don't know the story. I remember calling Pastor B and telling her this was it, and Pastor B was like, "Don't overthink it. This is yes." Pastor B, when I left 2 weeks ago, I came to your house and I told you that I was not dating anybody. 2 weeks later, I'm telling you that I want to marry, and you said that this is yes.
Are you okay?
What's happening?
You have a fever.
Sister Yorande called me while I was in the trip. I think the day after he had asked me to marry me, I was still telling my mommy, "Mommy, is this normal? Am I okay? Are we okay? Is this?" And mommy just kept saying, "This is how God works. This is how God works." And then Pastor Yande called me that day, and I put you on speakerphone because my mom was in the back seat. And she now said, "How's that boy?" I said, "Which boy?" She said, "That boy now." I said, "Me and you did not discuss a boy, and I had seen you inviting before I left for Nigeria.
Oh my God.
She now said, "Oh, the boy that you did podcast with." I said,
With
"Demlade, oh, it's fine now." She now started laughing. I said, "What's the dream? What's the dream? What did God tell you?" Me, that I knew that you had already asked me to marry him. So I was like,
yeah.
"What did God tell you?" So it was funny because she never told me until I got back when I now told her. She now said, "Oh, that," she kneels down. She kneels down on, like, literally in church. She knelt down on, just like, "Thank you, Jesus." She's like, she had a feeling, or I mean, she had a dream, and she had told me what the dream was, but she just thought like, oh, maybe because I told her about the podcast and I
You
told her
don't
about the show that we wanted to do, so maybe she was overthinking it, and it was like that, like that, like that. Now, some people will say, "Oh, that's not how you get your God confirmation or whatever." Like, some people are very distinct about, "Oh, is this somebody that's going to be marrying?" You know, like they are saying all of these things, but are they going to be there with you in the marriage?
right.
For me, God has always used people to confirm things for me.
Things, right.
But there was also peace. See, me, I already said my apologies. There's I think Norma and Dozie. I remember when they were getting my, and I'm like, how? You
No.
guys just put together. I've been so, I think maybe because, and this is why I also feel like it was like God is so intentional, because I don't want to see anybody suffer in marriage. Honestly, really, and truly, it's a thing for me. There are two
Right.
things I know that God has kind of always put in my heart. Is one, I don't want people to suffer in marriage. Two, well, maybe three things. Two, I hate, when I see people who are waiting for children. And then three, youths in general, just having people grow up in this thing. So for me, that marriage one, having experience, being in divorce,
Right.
seeing a lot of stories about it, I didn't even know that I was going to be continuing to
Right.
see, and those kind of things. Like, it's a very, very painful thing that I don't want anybody to
Ready to
experience.
go
So
through.
I was very, very guarded. I remember Kemi of blessed memory, when she was getting married, and I was like, she's too young. Oh, why is she getting married? Uncle Tunji then was like, Kilo day, what's the problem? Some people are supposed to, but I was so worried. I was really, really worried. I was asking questions. There are none of my friends. See, I mean, I say it till today. A friend of mine, and unfortunately, they now went on to get a divorce. When we had gone for the wedding, and a couple days before, she's telling me some things. I'm like, are you sure? We can cancel this thing today, today, today. There's no money, is not wasted though. We
Yeah.
can cancel it. Now they're divorced. So for me, it's like it's always been a thing for me. So I've always been, before until God showed me that he can do it, and it's okay, and he will do it, and just
Right.
trust him and know that it is him, right?
Right.
I always was very concerned about any of my friends or family members that were, in like a short marriages or a short this thing or whatever. But I always think of and I don't want to mention her name, but there was somebody in church, her. She was dating somebody, and I remember everybody standing on business that this guy was not good for her. Turns out the guy was actually really not good for her, and she knew it. But you know how, again, sometimes you just want to, like,
Check the box.
it took her a while, but she finally ended it with that guy. I think
Right.
within 6 months she was married. Over 40, she has 2 kids. What God cannot do does not exist. So I tell her all the time, I said I use her story every time I talk to somebody about anything married. That if God can do it for her, now it's still, even with the 6 months, I was still worried, Sha. But now God has shown me that it was 2 weeks, and it takes
Right.
2 weeks. So what do you
Right.
want to say?
Wow.
What's the excuse? Like, so if anybody tells me that they want to marry now, I'm okay with this, whether it's 1 month, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's whatever. I just need to know what are some of the things. For example, Demlade being so connected to his family is a big deal for me. It's a really, if I'm looking for Demlade, I know where he is. His father has GPS to wherever he is. I'm not worried about my husband is somewhere. That kind of thing. So just there was certain things that I needed together with that. And all of those were things I found out really quickly. But I will tell you, till the very end, if somebody had told me, or somehow God told me, if it's on that day, I was ready. I That was one thing I gave to God, that God, whatever, if it's on that very day that you want to break it up, oh please, because I must not suffer
Right.
in marriage. That's my, I must not, and I will not, and I know that. It's been God, and I will not. Yeah.
Right. Did you have any I mean, when people found out
Yeah.
that he was divorced,
Yeah.
did you have people, because I think even in this day and age,
Yeah.
when people are supposed to be more
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Illiterate,
Yeah.
right? Not reading their Bible upside down. Because some people, he
Mm,
must have stayed, he should have stayed
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
mm.
So were there people
Yeah.
that were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
May was married before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I had a few people, very few, and
They were Christians,
interestingly, yes,
born again,
Christians.
promise Christians.
Yes, and close to me as well, right? So it was a little painful in that sense because I'm just like, God, so why aren't you telling them what you told everybody else? Because at this point, you had told everybody else, right? Like everybody that had met him, everybody that knew him, like all of that stuff. And
Mhm.
Demlade is one person that, for some reason, even people that have not met him, I don't know him, but I just know he's a good guy. I'm just like,
Right. And that's
I don't know
that's
him.
true.
I've never met
That's
him,
true.
but I just know he's
That's
a good.
true.
Even that podcast episode, I will never
Mhm.
forget Rotimi texting me and Rotimi being a guy.
Mhm.
I was not expecting him. Rotimi Manuel. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting him to have even listened to it. He's like everything, even the part about business was so helpful. Da, da, da. And this was just for me doing episode with him, that kind of thing. So it was already like, well, like if you even meet him, his character is all of that. Like,
Yeah.
why would anybody still worry about that? But it's so funny because the amount of people on the flip side. I remember telling somebody when we had gone to Uganda for mission trip, and I remember telling her a little bit about what had happened with with his ex, and she's like, "Ah, they were not even married. Some of those ones, you don't even." And I'm like, "Excuse me, Deacon." Aren't you supposed to have been like be coming down,
No, no,
Like, so people were, I don't know what it was about his story, whether they knew the details or
or
not,
no.
him or not,
Mm.
were very, very like, see, this is God. I see God in it for you. I see God
Right.
in him, and that one was not meant to be, and that is that. So, and I think for me, again, having his parents, be that
Yeah.
joyful and be that I mean they were it was
Right.
they were
I think
they had
even
carried me like their daughter. Yeah.
right, even remembering the episode. Do you remember when he was talking about how he had healed
Yes.
Mhm.
from
Yes.
there's some and I think it's very rare to hear a Christian man say, "Oh, I healed." I've only heard it from two people
Mm, mm,
that that happened,
yeah.
and they healed from it. They went to therapy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did all that, and it was not ashamed. It was not a thing of shame
Yeah.
for him. It
Yeah.
was a thing of joy. Look, this happened to me.
Yeah.
Acknowledging it. It
Yeah.
happened. It
Yeah.
didn't work out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I will never forget um his speech. His what's that thing you people do? His
Question to me.
no,
Which one?
that they do the vows. The
Oh,
vows.
his vows, his vows.
I never forget. These vows were so beautiful. It was about, yes, I did it before, but
Yeah.
but now I know, like I know what I'm supposed to do, and I
Yeah.
will never. I mean, I was listening to the thing. It was like practically me hearing this guy say, "Nife, I will never hurt you. I
Yeah.
may make mistakes,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
will
That was
not.
his.
I will
Yes.
not. I will
Exactly.
not knowingly hurt you."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I was in the back. I was like, hey, Jesus, Jesus.
First of all, agapians are dramatic. All the agapians
All
with
of
that
us.
speech.
Oh my God. Jeez, you could see they knew Agape was in the house. They knew we were in that waterfront that we knew. Even if we were close to water, some of us were falling inside. Yeah. But it's just
But we thank God. We thank
it's just
God.
a joy to
Yeah.
see.
We
Like I
thank
was saying before,
Yeah.
someone that everybody was collectively praying, but we were all praying for the same things we were praying for. And that's the funny thing. Everybody was praying the same thing, although we were not coming together to
Yeah.
pray.
Yeah.
But that was what we were praying. So when we
There were some
had
people. There were some people coming together to pray. See, Agapians, I love you with all of my heart. You can never. There's nothing Agapians can do to me. You can't kill me. You can. You can. There were people pray. The Mrs. Amami and her prayer group. They were praying for me.
Hmm.
Auntie BC and her prayer group. They were praying for me. I'm pretty sure Sister Hepzibah and her prayer group. They were praying for me. There are some prayer groups that were
Actually,
praying.
one day he's praying.
Auntie one day, see,
and it's
Auntie one
just
day
beautiful.
pray.
I'm looking at some of
Comment.
the comments, and Aisha is saying that episode stood out for a lot of people. It
Mhm.
just stood out, and I don't know what it stood out for a lot of people. I know for me, from
Mhm.
me, I'm like,
No.
Senator's husband.
A few people, a few
Hmm.
people,
Like
crazy, yeah, yeah.
there was just something. There was just something there.
Yeah.
So
And
now we just
thank you to everybody that has prayed for us, that prayed for us, that prayed for us throughout. Like from the moment I said it,
said,
we started
yeah.
prayers. There's a chain of prayers. Sister Stella at the one day. And I say that to say don't take it for so when I say I'm a
Granted,
Jesus baby, I say that
right.
with all of my heart because it's not because
Mm.
God has let me not say he has not answered everything. He has answered everything he needs to answer, right? But it's not
Mhm.
because I'm so satisfied in life. At
Right.
this moment, I'm like, okay, God, what's next? I don't know what's next. I'm feeling a little antsy already. Like, oh God, what's like, that kind of thing. But I think that having support. I was watching something today talking about how everybody wants a village, but they themselves don't want to be villagers, right? And I'm
Listen.
yeah,
Mm.
I'm grateful that God gave me. I don't even know what it is, honestly, because sometimes I don't know that I'm the nicest person. No, I'm not necessarily the nicest person. But I think that God just gave me the grace to be there. I think I also realized very early on that sometimes I always tell God that He doesn't want to give me money because He knows I'll throw money at a lot of things and I'll just sit down in my house. So, and then I did because I didn't have money. Sometimes I really showed up. To
Mhm.
me, maybe because I just like to work. So a
Yeah.
couple of things. But I just feel like I really had a village. And so even if I didn't feel like praying, I had constant prayer time. So it's like
Mhm.
even if you don't feel like, in fact, sometimes it's like, okay, I've not prayed that day because I know that I'm going to pray at Tuesday at 6 p.m. So that will be my prayer for the day.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I really want to say, pray.
Mhm.
I'm not the best prayer person. I'm much more of a reader, so I read my Bible and I write, right?
Mhm.
And God is still helping me on the prayer one because I really do want to be waking up at 5 a.m. to pray. I want to be because I want to really, I'm really praying. I feel like God is not helping me answer this prayer, but whatever the case is, pray, read your Bible, but be connected to God people. I've said,
Right.
I'll continue to say it. I am a
Right.
baby. I am
Mhm.
a baby. I am a baby. When I knew that like I'm getting married in Lagos. I knew the people that were coming. I knew the people that
Yeah.
could be like if
Mhm.
you don't even
Mm.
come out. I mean I am a baby. I am spoiled. I
Right.
do not take it for granted. But I think that let us also remember to do be there for people as well.
Mhm. Right.
Having God-centered people that can always steer you right. I always had people
There you right.
would steer me this way, tell me to go this
Right.
way.
Right.
It really is very important. I remember Auntie Kemi calling me about this job that I now have, that I now love my boss, maybe not necessarily job, but I love my boss, and it was really that clearly that was what God wanted out of this position for me. But I remember walking to that office that day, being like, God, I can't believe you are doing this to me. I can't believe this job that you are giving me or whatever. She told me, she said, God told me, don't despise the days
The
of
days of small beginnings.
whatever the case is. Me and my boss can call me, he can tell me that he's in India now and he's calling me at midnight and he'll be like, I'm sorry, tell your husband I'm sorry, but I'm calling you. That kind of thing. And I'm just like, and this is a big, we're technically in a big organization, but God
Right.
finally wanted to connect me. And I will never forget that. I would have gone there that day. I would have been
And I've
miserable.
said no.
I may have even rejected that job if
Mhm.
Auntie Kenny didn't call me that day. As I was walking, I had just gotten into New York. I'll never forget. So I just
Wow.
say all of that to say that I
Mm.
think let's remember to do all of these things that we have as templates in the Bible, not because we're all going to get it right, but at least let's
Yeah.
try. That's
You know
it.
what I love, and I'm gonna end with this, and then I'll hand it over to Peggy. What I love about you, there's something about having a I don't know if I should call it a community, but a village, right?
Mhm.
But you were also a villager. But in the sense of also the people around you, the people that took you, you had big sisters,
Yeah,
had
Mhm.
mothers,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you took correction.
yes,
And but there were also situations where some people would um try to overstep.
mm,
But you also had people who were guarding you, like, no, don't overstep with her.
yeah,
Like, what are
yeah,
you doing?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just if she's saying, I remember when they walking into, I think, the office, and somebody was there, and I said no. And I
Mhm.
looked at her, I said, look at me, say no. Say no right here. I said, say no.
Yeah.
Say no. was a season of what she was overworked.
Yeah.
Right? And people didn't see. So what I see God do with you was He put people over you
Yeah.
that would not allow you to be trampled upon.
Yeah.
Not allow, but if you stepped over, He
Yeah.
also got you
Yeah.
immediately.
Check.
I remember one time telling you who are you fighting? Who, who are you fighting? Like who are you rebelling against?
Mm.
And everybody was looking at me like, so I get to say that to her because
Yeah.
I have the
Relationship.
permission, right?
Yeah.
There were people that you also gave permission to draw you back, to
Yes.
pull your ear,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
And so when you in turn did that with our kids,
Yeah.
we did it to you,
Yeah.
and we see how you turned out.
Yeah.
And so if you in turn become that to our children,
Yeah.
it's a blessing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? It's a blessing. And that's I mean, I love you.
I love you more.
You're my baby for life. Know that. Know that.
I love you, sis.
So thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Peggy, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
It has been wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
having you here. I mean, this gist will continue after this.
Yes, yes, no, anytime.
I'm way beyond the show, but it's just been amazing to see that you're actually approachable.
That's something people don't know about me. I know. It's so funny. It is actually so funny. People do not know that about me, especially because I be having stank face. I do. I have a very
Yeah.
That
I'm
was
gonna say something.
like,
It's like,
don't come near me.
yeah.
it's so funny because and that's I was saying that I don't feel like I'm always the nicest person, and especially if I'm working and my face they bloody put up a picture yesterday or so, and I was just like, that's that the picture you took. I was like, face like but yes, I am approachable. You just have to approach. I'm not I do think that I'm not a very come and meet you approach. Like I won't come to you. But I feel like if you come to me, then I'll carry you. Like you'll be my person. Like I yeah, that way. Yes.
Yeah, so it's so amazing, and I've learned so much about you here. I've known you from afar.
Yeah.
And we say hello, hi, hello,
Yeah.
hi, hello, hi. And I think it was of recent that we kind of just stay
Yeah.
connecting beyond hello, hi, how are you doing? And now today it feels like it just went a step further, but just your heart for people
Yeah.
and your heart for just sharing your journey. I think, like you said, you're a very resourceful person. And it shows when you have conversations about a lot of things. So we want to thank you for, sharing your God story with us.
Thank you.
We're going to hear more God stories from you.
Amen.
Perfection is already there.
Amen.
We have you and Mr. Robots here.
Yeah, that I need. That I need. When you go back,
We're going to have that, and we're
Yeah.
going to talk.
Okay.
Talk to these our people. We want to talk about.
No
So we're
problem.
going to be real, but thank you. It's been great
Of
having you
Of
here.
course, thank you.
Guys, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe, because this is
Yes.
just you need to subscribe, follow.
Yes.
Wait, the world without people, please
Yes.
follow us now. Look, if you have not listened to the episode
20,
go and listen to it. It's 20. And we're not saying it because it's just there's a lot of nuggets that he shared.
right.
Healing journey and how he just got there. It's just so much. So if you're going through, if you're in a space,
Right. Figuring out space,
or going through a divorce or something, he's actually shared some things that how he walked his healing journey and everything. So go listen to it and then share with your friends, right? Because remember, we're here every Sunday.
Yeah.
Bring you conversations that help you deepen your walk. Pastor Guy said walk is
one your walk.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you so much.
Bye.
bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye. So do I just leave studio? I'm still on.